I have been using my Nintendo Switch OLED for just over a year now, and just like you, I was also debating last year whether I wanted to jump on the OLED Switch or just wait until the Switch 2 came out. There were already plenty of rumors out there of the Switch 2 being on the horizon and all the greatest additions that it would have compared to the regular Switch. So you might be asking yourself now, should I buy a Switch now or just wait until the Switch 2 comes out? And honestly, my answer hasn't really changed. Just get it. I have one rule when it comes to FOMO, or the fear of missing out, and it's always to just buy the device. But that does come with one single rule, and I always have to remind myself that I need to buy it used or open box, so when the new system does come out, if I decide to upgrade, I can sell the older system for a very small loss, or sometimes if you got a really good price, no loss at all. And even though the Switch 2 is now a maximum of 3 months away from being announced, the new games that will launch specifically for the Switch 2 is going to be limited to only being a couple of them. Meanwhile, the library of games available for the regular Switch is huge. That's a huge plus of the regular Switch now being over 7 years old and the many titles that have already launched for it. So if you were to pick up a Switch now for the first time, I can guarantee that there are a few games in there that will last you a while before you even finish them. And for peace of mind, Nintendo has already confirmed that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible, so you should be able to transfer your library of games to the new system once it launches. And if for some crazy reason they decide against the last minute, you can always sell your library of games as well to recoup some of that money. Unless you're Team Digital, which I still don't understand, especially after a lot of games and movies have been taken out of people's libraries without their consent. But I am curious, if you're still on Team Digital, what is making you still choose digital over physical games? Let me know that in the comments. And also don't forget to like this video if you guys are enjoying the content, and subscribe to not miss any of my future uploads. It's a great way to show support for the channel without any cost to you. And whether you decide to go with physical or digital, there is for sure a game in there for you to pick up now, rather than waiting. If you're a fan of the classic Nintendo titles, you can pick up Smash Bros, Mario Kart, or really any of the Pokemon games. Smash Bros and Mario Kart are always fun to throw on in the living room with friends and family, and you guys can all enjoy them together. They have also online multiplayer in case you are looking to have a solo game night, but you still want to play with other people rather than playing with computers. If you're more of a solo gamer and enjoy playing open world games, Zelda has you covered with Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. With Zelda, it is more truly open world and reminded me a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, where you can find groups of enemies, upgrade stations, and really progress through the story as you like, whether it's the main story or the side quest. You can easily spend over 100 hours on these games. I've been playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on and off since April, and I haven't managed to finish it just yet. To continue with the PS5 comparisons, if you're a fan of the Astro Ball game, then you definitely will enjoy 3D Mario games available for the Switch, like Mario Odyssey, or even going with something like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. There are also classic 2D Mario games, which are personally my favorite, and I still pick up Mario Maker 2 to play some multiplayer online, which is always fun to play. All of these titles are just barely scratching the surface, and there are plenty of other exclusives to pick up as well. Lately, I've been looking for new ones to check out and just bought my first ever Kirby game and the Forgotten Land, which I have really been enjoying. So make sure you guys also leave your recommendations for games down in the comments. It really would help a lot of us that are always looking for another game to add to our collection. And after you choose your games, you might be debating whether an OLED Switch is actually worth it, especially over the regular Switch. And the answer is honestly not that complicated. If you are planning on using the Switch in portable mode a lot instead of going with dock mode, then the OLED model is for sure going to be worth it. But if you plan on throwing the Switch in the dock behind the monitor or a TV and really never picking it up again and just playing on the monitor or TV instead, then the regular Switch is the way to go. To me, there are only two major differences between the two, and one is going to be the screen. The difference between an LCD screen and an OLED screen is definitely going to be a huge upgrade for all of those portable gaming sessions. And looking specifically at Nintendo titles, we know that they are going to be really saturated in color with reds and blues and animated, which honestly makes the colors pop even more on an OLED screen. The other major difference I will say is going to be the docking station for the Switch. The new one in the OLED model comes with a LAN connector rather than an extra USB port. Personally, I don't really game on the Switch competitively enough to need a LAN connector, but I do have times when I need an extra USB port for another wired controller. So to me, that was more of a downgrade. But if you are someone that gets really competitive, then the LAN connector could make a huge difference rather than having to buy an adapter. But other than those two major differences, the other differences are small enough and not really that noticeable. the OLED Switch does come with a much better portable kickstand and a different spot for the gaming cartridge. I personally have never really played the Switch in tabletop mode, so the stand doesn't really help me out a lot, but if you do plan on using the tabletop mode a lot, that stand is going to make the OLED model worth it. The price between the two models will differ by anywhere between $50 to $100 depending if you're buying it new or used, but if you do planning on using portably most of the time, I would highly recommend saving up a little bit extra money and going with the OLED model instead. Still, the main reason I would suggest going for the Switch now rather than waiting is because you can enjoy the Switch for much longer, save some money, and get the games that you wanted with that extra saved money. Even though the new Switch 2 is on the horizon, there has always been a better, more powerful portable gaming system out there. And Nintendo has always had the chance to make a more powerful gaming system, but yet they always seem to nerf their systems, making it more difficult for them to adapt to larger titles. And I think that's because Nintendo already knows who their market is, which they currently rule, and it's going to be the family-friendly game night market that everyone enjoys playing. They know exactly what kind of games to make that make playing split screen fun for everyone and not just the hardcore gamers. But with all their systems, they also have tried to make it available in part to the hardcore gamers time and time again, but it just doesn't perform that great. Their market is a lot more limited to the family and children friendly audience. You can just tell by looking at some of their most popular exclusive titles for the Switch and the dialogue that's used within these titles. When the top 10 best selling games include 2 Pokemon generations, you know that the audience isn't necessarily buying the Switch to play Elden Ring or Red Dead Redemption. Most parents that are not hardcore gamers themselves will buy a Switch because of how easy it is to know that the games are going to be more family friendly rather than being rated M for mature or being for adults instead. And that's not all of them, but most of them will. And if they decide to play the game with their kids at some point, it's simple to know that one button will make your car in Mario Kart go forward and the joystick steers the car, rather than having to learn how to 3D pan the camera with 2 joysticks while pressing other buttons at the same time. I'm not saying that Nintendo can't change or make larger games, I'm just saying that the target audience isn't what the hardcore gamers want it to be. With Nintendo staying in their lane and Sony staying in their lane, they both profit from hitting both markets, and those that want to be part of both end up buying both systems. I don't think that waiting for the next gen of a console is ever a great idea for really any tech piece, not just consoles, unless the current generation just completely sucks. Because in the end, you might end up waiting for the Switch 2 to come out, only for it to cost twice the amount of the OLED model and only provide a minor spec bump. I could be completely wrong and would be more than happy to eat my words with the Switch 2 being a total hit, a total game changer, and come at a reasonable price, but I'm honestly not holding my breath. What are your thoughts? Are you going to be waiting for the Switch 2 to be launched, or take the Mario Kart that's available right now for honestly a great price? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you guys for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you in the next one.